You have seen her eyes before, not in this life, perhaps, but in a dream that made your chest tighten, in a painting you could not look away from, in a silence that felt too loud. She laughs like something ancient pretending to be innocent, and when she turns away, it is not modesty, it is strategy. Her softness is not born of nature, but of design, like silk draped over a dagger, like snow concealing a pit. You think she is waiting to be claimed, but she is waiting to destroy slowly, sweetly, righteously. You will give everything, and she will call it fate. You will ask for her truth, and she will offer a riddle. She does not lie, she simply hides what you would not survive knowing. She does not seduce, she mirrors your need, reflects it until it devours you. You think you have found her, but she was never there, only a performance. Only the smile of a wound that never closed. She enters your life not as a person, but as an interruption, a disruption of the dull machinery you mistook for peace. You do not fall in love with her. You fall into her, into the crevice she creates in your world, into the vacancy her presence exposes. You believe it is desire. It is not. It is the gravity of your own emptiness responding to hers. You are drawn not by what she is, but by what she lacks and how artfully she conceals it. She smiles, and you mistake it for warmth, but you do not realize yet that you are standing in front of something cold enough to preserve itself in any season. She is not hiding, she is veiled, and there is a difference. Hiding suggests shame. Veiling implies power. You are not invited behind the veil. You are led around it, again and again, until you forget there was ever something beneath. She listens to you speak not because she hears you, but because silence makes her seem innocent. She is not a liar. A liar must remember the truth. She has buried it. She is an actress who has learned her lines by heart, and when she weeps, it is not for you. It is for the role she must maintain to remain unchallenged. And what is this role not victim, not villain, something more elusive, something liminal? She lives in the crack between saint and siren. She demands to be adored as if she were helpless, and obeyed as if she were divine. And you oblige as if it were your duty to worship what confuses you. You feel her suffering and believe it comes from a place of innocence. It does not. It comes from calculation. To suffer visibly is to disarm the world. She bleeds publicly not because she is fragile, but because it makes her untouchable. You offer her truth, and she calls it cruelty. You offer her stability, and she calls it control. You offer her devotion, and she calls it entitlement. There is no winning, only sacrificing. Her approval is not granted, it is rationed, carefully, surgically, always just enough to keep you reaching. And in this endless reaching, you mistake longing for love. You tell yourself she is deep, mysterious, wounded. But what you call depth is only the echo of your own hope against her hollow. What you call mystery is merely the absence of reciprocation. And what you call wound is in fact weapon she learned long ago that suffering is currency, and she spends it with precision. You think you are conquering her. You think you are slowly peeling back the layers, drawing her closer, proving yourself. But you are not a conqueror. You are an offering, a volunteer, a willing sacrifice on the altar of her reflection. She does not need to conquer. She only needs to be seen. You are not seeing her. You are seeing your own desire costumed in feminine outline. Once she is observed, the performance begins. She performs fragility, so you will protect her. She performs restraint, so you will chase her. She performs passion, so you will doubt your sanity when she withdraws. And yet, you persist. Why? Because beneath all your claims of logic and reason, you are still an animal hoping for softness. You want a place to collapse, a womb to return to, a gaze that tells you you are enough. But she is not the womb. She is the hunger. She is the gaze that devours. She does not complete you, she unmakes you. And the tragedy is that you thank her for it. You write poems to the destruction. You call it divine. You call it love. But she does not love. She selects. She studies. She seduces not because she feels, but because she knows it will anchor you. This is the paradox. She makes you feel alive only because she is drawing your life out of you. She awakens your masculinity only to soften it, blur it, bleed it into submission. And when you are finally nothing but a servant to her moods, a supplicant to her silence, she will say you've changed. She will say she misses the man you were before, the man who had edges, fire, defiance, the man she erased with every sigh and every complaint and every "I'm fine" that left you scrambling to fix what was never broken. She did not want to be saved. She wanted to watch you try. She resents you not for failing to understand her, but for trying. She needed you to remain confused, to stay orbiting her enigma. The moment you begin to see clearly, she begins to detach. Intimacy terrifies her not because it is too much, but because it would reveal how little is there. She fears being known more than being heard. She would rather be betrayed than truly seen, because to be seen is to be measured. To be measured is to be finite, and to be finite is to be vulnerable in a way she cannot control. So she spins illusions, emotional riddles. She becomes the mirror in which you drown, the dream you mistake for destiny. She tells you what you want to hear in your language, not hers. She adopts your rhythm, your intensity, your longing, and in doing so, you believe you've found your counterpart. But what you've found is a silence that learned how to echo. She does not love you, she reflects you, and only the parts that serve her mask. You may call her cruel, but she would scoff. She is not cruel. She is careful. She is precise. She will give you just enough softness to keep you attached, and just enough distance to keep you desperate. She will never fully offer herself, not because she fears betrayal, but because withholding gives her control. And she prefers control over closeness, control over connection, control over truth. And if, by some miracle, you begin to see through her, if you pull back the veil and glimpse the machinery behind the myth, she will not fight you. She will collapse, she will cry, she will call you heartless, and you guilt-ridden, conditioned, tired, you will kneel again, trying to make amends for daring to seek reality. You will apologize for noticing the mask. You will beg for the illusion to return. But it does not return, not because she has changed, but because you have. The illusion requires your blindness to survive. Once seen, it dies. And in its place, you are left with her smile still sweet, still soft but no longer magical, no longer divine, only human, only tired, only strategic. And then, finally, you understand. She never wanted to be conquered. She wanted to be obeyed. She never wanted truth. She wanted power dressed as love. She never wanted you. She wanted what you gave up to please her. And now that you have nothing left, she will say you are not the man she fell in love with. She is right. You are not. You are the man who found the wound behind her smile and walked away. She tells you she wants to be led, but her eyes say otherwise. There is no submission here, only choreography. The bow of the head is not deference, it is provocation. The softness of her voice is not trust, it is bait. The surrender she performs is not an act of intimacy, but of strategy. You see her kneel, and you imagine loyalty, but it is not loyalty, it is camouflage. The animal hides in the shadow of your desire and lets you call it love. You mistake her stillness for peace, her gentleness for virtue, her silence for depth. You have been trained to revere the quiet woman, the yielding woman, because you do not understand that yielding is often a test, and quietness is a trap for the unwary. She rehearses the role of the obedient, not because she believes in your leadership, but because she wishes to direct from behind the veil. She wishes to rule without declaring it. Her every gesture of passivity contains a calculation. When she asks what you think, it is not curiosity, it is a measure. When she says she trusts you, she is handing you a script. And if you fail to follow it, she will not confront you, she will fade. She will withdraw approval like a god denying sunshine. She will grow cold and quiet and untouchable. You will ask what you did wrong. She will say nothing, but the punishment will continue, not to correct you, but to train you. She wants you powerful but domesticated, strong but predictable, passionate but manageable. She is not asking to be conquered. She is asking to be entertained, to be the center of your orbit, the soul of your mission, the reason you become obedient to her absence. She will let you lead, provided she controls the destination, and when you arrive, she will say she never wanted to come. This is the theater, a submission that is written by her and performed by you. A dance where your dominance is always conditional, always fragile, always dependent on her moods. And still, you think this is love. You believe her praise is genuine. It is not. It is currency. She gives it to keep you performing, to keep you addicted to her approval. Her "you're such a man" is not admiration, it is reinforcement. A nod from the audience to the actor who remains in character. The moment you deviate from the script, when you assert a truth she didn't write, when you stop seeking applause, the spotlight turns cold. The theater collapses. You are no longer the hero. You are a threat. You were never her lover. You were her prop. But the performance is seductive, isn't it? The rituals of intimacy, the gestures of submission, the way she looks up at you with eyes that seem to ask for guidance, for strength, for safety, and you, starved for meaning, for purpose. For masculinity, you answer the call. You build, you protect, you sacrifice. You become her knight, her builder, her anchor, and slowly, you forget that she never asked for a man. She asked for a mirror, someone to reflect her fantasy back to her, someone to act in the play she wrote long before you arrived. You think she loves how you hold her. She loves how she feels when you do. There is a difference. She does not want you. She wants the experience of herself through you. You are not her partner. You are her echo chamber, her emotional stage, her invisible servant dressed in armor. And if ever you remove the armor and show her the man beneath, tired, flawed, human, she will flinch. Not because you are broken, but because you have broken the illusion. And she cannot bear to look at anything that does not confirm her control. She pretends to trust you, but what she truly trusts is her ability to disappear. She knows that if you lead wrongly, she can vanish, withdraw sex, withdraw affection, withdraw presence, and she will say nothing cruel, only coldness, only absence. Only a silence that trains you to obey before it ever needs to punish. This is not love. This is power draped in the robes of devotion. You believe submission was a gift. It is not. It is a strategy. She knows how deeply men crave to be needed. She knows how tender the masculine ego is when it believes it is being honored. She feeds you this illusion with precision, not because she respects you, but because she knows how to keep you useful. She smiles when you speak about purpose, about legacy, about protection. But in her heart, she is waiting, waiting for you to weaken, to weep, to open, because then she will feed on it, not maliciously, but instinctively, like fire feeding on oxygen. It is not evil, it is nature, it is appetite, and when you collapse, when you finally reach your breaking point, she will either disappear or transform into mother, not to comfort you, but to remind you that she is now above you, that she holds the emotional high ground, that your vulnerability has made you small in her eyes, and she will never forget it. She will never unsee it. She will smile. She will kiss you. But in her mind, the balance has shifted. You have stepped off the pedestal, and now she will begin to lose interest. She cannot help it. She is drawn to your strength, but only as long as it remains inaccessible. The moment she owns it, it bores her. The moment she tames it, it dies. She wants the dragon circling the tower, not the dog at her feet. She wants the danger of your masculinity, but not its reality. She wants the performance, not the presence. And you oblige, again and again. You return to the stage, because the applause is addictive, because her silence is unbearable, because without her approval, you no longer know who you are. You say she changed. She did not. She simply stopped pretending. You say she loved you. She did not. She loved the game. She loved the power. She loved being the axis around which your world turned. And when you stopped spinning, she grew tired. You were never the prize. You were the proof that she could bend even the strongest man into a servant. And still, you wonder what went wrong. You read books. You ask friends. You blame yourself. You think, perhaps, you were not dominant enough, not stoic enough, not masculine enough. But the truth is simpler. You played a role in her theater, and the script expired. The curtain closed. She bowed. You begged for an encore. But the stage is empty now. The lights are off. And she has already cast someone new. You were not the first. You will not be the last. There is no closure, no truth, only repetition. Only the same ritual played out again and again, with new names, new costumes, new music. And you, if you do not awaken, you will return. Not because you love her, but because you need the stage, because the silence terrifies you, because without the audience, you are no one. So you wait for another smile, another script, another invitation to pretend. And when it comes, you will call it love. Again, she stands at the edge of every man she has conquered and asks with wide eyes, why does no one stay? But she already knows. She feels it each time silence stretches between her and the one who once burned for her. Each time his gaze turns from worship to distance. Each time devotion dries up without warning. She calls it betrayal. She calls it cowardice. She calls it abandonment. But in truth, it is something far more terrifying. It is recognition. The moment a man sees the abyss behind her gestures, the hollowness beneath her performances, the strange numbness behind her affections, he cannot stay. Not because he is cruel, but because he is alive. And no living thing can long endure the presence of what does not reciprocate life. She has always mistaken hunger for depth. She thinks her longing is a sign of soul. But longing is not proof of soul. It is often the symptom of its absence. She does not crave love. She craves sensation. And once the sensation fades, so too does her attention, her sweetness, her need. She tells herself she wants to feel, but what she means is that she wants to be filled. She is not seeking connection. She is fleeing stillness. for stillness would require her to face the truth that the emptiness inside her has no name because it has no origin. It was not caused. It simply is. And so she becomes a collector of intensity. She feeds on the new, the dramatic, the tragic. She confuses chaos with meaning. She wants to be adored not out of vanity, but out of terror. Because to be adored is to be real, to be confirmed, to be temporarily held together by the gaze of another. But it never lasts. Because adoration is fragile, it demands innocence, and she cannot remain innocent for long. Her own discontent begins to rot the stage. Her own hunger begins to warp the lines. She wants him to make her feel, but the feeling fades. It always fades. And when it does, she blames him. You were not enough. She whispers to herself, not dangerous enough, not loving enough, not mysterious enough. She tells herself he grew cold, that he pulled away, that he stopped trying. But it is not him. It is the pattern, the structure of her own need collapsing under its contradictions. She wants him close, but not inside. She wants him strong, but not separate. She wants to be desired, but never possessed. Every man fails because the role is impossible, and yet she keeps casting, keeps auditioning, keeps hoping that this time the illusion will hold. And what of you, the man caught in her cycle? You came with honesty, with conviction. You believed, perhaps naively, that your presence would be enough, that your stability would soothe her, that your love would warm her. But love is not what she craves. She craves reflection. And you, when you stopped reflecting her fantasy, became foreign to her, unfamiliar. She said you changed. But what changed was her ability to mold you. She once looked at you with reverence, but it was not reverence. It was need, a hunger painted as admiration. And once fed, it turned into resentment, into indifference, into critique. You gave her safety, and she used it to explore her own discontent. You gave her structure, and she called it prison. You gave her truth, and she fled from it, calling it cruelty. You offered your soul, and she said it was too heavy, too much, too real. And so, like all the others, you became the villain in her memory. Another man who failed to understand her. Another shadow she paints on the wall of her suffering. She gathers them like trophies, not to mourn, but to prove her narrative, that she is the one always left, always unloved, always too much. It comforts her, this belief that she is tragic, because tragedy feels like purpose. It gives her wounds a crown. It makes her hunger feel noble. But beneath the performance, there is silence. A silence so total it terrifies her. It is the silence of not knowing what she is without someone watching, not knowing who she is without someone responding. She cannot sit with this silence. She fills it with noise, with drama, with affection that evaporates by morning. And you became her distraction, her temporary solution, her shield against herself. She told you she was afraid of being hurt, but that was not the truth. She is afraid of being seen. Not seen in the way she wants, as beautiful, as wanted, as fragile, but seen for what she truly is when the mask drops unsure, fragmented, endlessly restless. You caught glimpses of it, in the quiet moments, in the detachment, in the vacant eyes. You saw the echo behind her laughter, and it unsettled you, because no amount of love could fill it. And yet, you tried. All men try. Some with gifts, some with sacrifice, some with violence, some with devotion. But all of them fail, because they are attempting to complete a story that has no ending. They are trying to satisfy a hunger that was never meant to be fed, only performed. She is the hunger, the longing, the question with no answer. And if you remain too long, you become that question too. You forget your edges, you forget your direction. You begin to revolve around her absence, orbiting a center that does not hold. You thought you could save her. You thought you could be the one. But she does not want saving. She wants the struggle, the tension, the rise and fall. She wants the illusion of redemption, not its cost. Real healing would demand surrender, and surrender would mean losing the power of her wound. And her wound is sacred to her. It is the altar upon which she builds her meaning. Without it, she is only a girl standing alone in a room, unsure why love feels like suffocation. You left, or she made you leave. It doesn't matter. The outcome is the same. She will forget the truth. She will remember the version that flatters her myth. And you will carry the scar, not because she wounded you, but because you believed, because you hoped, because for a brief moment, you thought you had touched something real. But there was nothing there, only the echo of your own need bouncing back from an emptiness she cannot name. And now you understand. The pain you feel is not loss. It is disillusionment, the crumbling of a fantasy, the death of a role you were never meant to play. You are not broken. You are waking up from the theater, from the veil, from the idea that love must be earned by erosion, that you must disappear to be worthy, that your strength must be softened to be accepted. Let her weep, let her perform, let her cast new actors in her never-ending play. You are no longer her audience. You have seen behind the curtain. You have heard the silence. And though it still haunts you, it no longer holds you. You carry no anger, only clarity, only the cold, bitter understanding that sometimes the thing you loved was never real, only the shape of your own reflection, projected onto a woman who knew how to mirror it. She cannot name her emptiness, but you can name your freedom. And it begins here. She lies in bed beneath the same moon that once lit your longing. She touches the necklace you gave her, not to remember you, but to remember how it felt to be desired. Somewhere in the silence, she wonders why it always ends the same. But she does not reach the answer. She reaches for another mirror, another flame, another face, and far from her reach, you walk into the night alone but whole. The wind no longer carries her name, only the faint scent of endings. And as you disappear into the dark, there is no closure, no revenge, only the soft echo of a question left unanswered. What if she was never there at all?